samples that we were fooling around with. And
This was just, I've had this brought this. This is an easy design that could be.
right, you just basically have a cube with some slides in it. So, yeah, it is. I really like it myself. Makes my job really easy. But you guys feel free. You're not going to hurt anything. Pick it up, play with it, whatever. This is basically the design that we're gonna be making frag racks. If anybody has a smaller tank and wants a little bit of a smaller frag rack or a bigger frag rack, get with me. Stay after the class. You know, we can do some things with it. This is a probe holder. It's adjustable.
Either Patty or they might send you over to.
Okay, so can you explain to them how much heat you're supposed to put in order to get a good curve like this?
It actually depends on the material.
The thick.
What usually happens is people will get in a hurry.
Yeah.
You know, you start heating the acrylic up and you're sitting there going, man, this is taking 5 minutes. I just want to turn the heat up a little bit quicker. And as I was saying before, the thicker the material is, the longer you're going to have to take your time in heating it up. If you're trying to heat it up really quick, as we did last night, it will catch on fire. It will. So
That's what that is.
we basically readjusted the heat. We played with it a little bit. One thing, just like with any other construction project, you know, when you're doing siding, tile, or anything, what do they always tell you? Get 10, 15% more than what you need. That's for uh-ohs. You know what I mean? So what I would suggest is when you start doing this for the first time, to start out with some scrap pieces and just stick them up there, make bends, play with it a little bit, and get used to the process. The process itself is not very hard, but there is a, you know, it's kind of like when you first got in a car when you're a teenager, you're a little sketchy. You might have popped the clutch a little bit, stalled it, but the more you drive the car, the easier it gets, and then you're smooth.
What did y'all use to melt it?
Bender, and we'll go over that right now. So if everybody wants to step over here. We use a couple of different things. That saw right there is actually not a saw, it's a router. And it's a router cutter that they use to cut plywood with. The only difference is it has a special acrylic blade on it. And that just helps with burrs and stuff of that nature. At my house, I use a wood cutting blade made for molding and doing fine cut. It works just as well. One thing about when you cut acrylic, even though you think you have a smooth edge, if you was to put it underneath a microscope or a magnifying glass, it's actually got notches all in it. So when you're gluing it to acrylic, you want to run a piece of sandpaper over it. Or we'll show you a technique using a blowtorch. It'll actually bring that edge back, that you make a really smooth surface, and it's really good for gluing. So I don't know if you've ever been to Home Depot and see them, but you can actually go back there and say, hey, I want my plywood cut to this dimension, and they'll have one of these sitting in the bag. And basically it's a vertical saw instead of a horizontal saw. This happens to be a really nice setup with a vacuum, so it keeps the mess and everything down. Because these guys do a lot of acrylic work here.
What kind of blades do you use to blade?
It's just a fine, what I use at the house is a fine wood cutting blade. But, and this is your typical wood cutting blade.
Elizabeth.
Get it out, there's another string on it. But if you guys want to walk over here and look, this is a typical acrylic blade. And you can see that it has really short teeth on it, and it's got a lot of them.
Yeah.
So it basically just makes a finer cut.
More like a plywood blade?
No, this is actually kind of like more of a plywood blade. It's got diamond tips on it, but you can see that it's got nice big grooves in it to let the material out.
Okay.
And that's what's going to create the notching effect when you cut it. Whereas this right here looks more like a grinder blade.
It looks like a grinder
Like
blade.
a cog wheel. It's got, you know, in the same 1 inch period, there's probably 30 teeth there, whereas here you got 2. And all this stuff is available on the internet. Just search acrylic blades. You can use metal blades. There's multiple different ways of doing it. We're just fortunate enough to have this nice equipment. You know, it's really nice when you're working on 30 projects for everybody to be able to just sit in there and go, 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 go. But when you're at your house, you're making one thing, you know, take your time with it, work with it a little bit. So it's really not that big of a deal. And anything to do with acrylic is not hard. I just wanted to spell that right now. My 5-year-old bends acrylic. the hardest part I have to tell him is keep your hand off the red glovey thing, it's hot. And once he touches it one time, then he's good with that. So, everything that we're gonna do here, you can set up in your garage and do it on a small basis, or if you like doing it, make your business out of it. It's not hard. Typical drill press, you know, we use drill press, you can use a hand drill. I have a hand drill over there, so I kind of use both. I'll show both methods. It's not any kind of special blade, I'm just using a uni bit there, so it's a step down bit, it keeps from chips, and I can do multiple holes with one bit. I don't have to change bits out constantly. Here in the back corner we have a regular table saw. We use that for big pieces when you don't have one of these knife tables. And over here, the white things you see with all the metal weights on it, this is our bender. And as you can, if you look up on that shelf, there's a real nice $800 bender. We prefer to use the homemade job. It works very well. And all it is a heating element on a rheostat to a 120 foot. Very simple. Anybody can build it at home with spare parts.
And it obviously goes without saying, not touch those nails. When
Yeah.
you're operating with this thing.
Anybody that's around this thing, when I turn it on, this will glow red. Do not touch it. There's my safety message for the day.
So you all are doing hand bending, not gravity bending?
Well, it is gravity.
Oh, okay. I'll wait
You
till
will
you-
heat it up and gravity will pull it down, or
Okay.
you can flip it up and put it into a mold. We have molds that are sitting right there on the table that we made, or jigs, whatever you want to call them, but they're just basically 90s that we use to form stuff around. When we bent that cube over there, we actually used that table. We laid it on the table and let gravity pull it down, and we just used a square, pushed up against it and held it, and we used the air there to cool it off, with an air compressor. And Ray will pull out the commercial bender if you want to go spin.
This would be an example of a high end. That's probably all need to go in there. This would be an example of a high end one, commercial one. I think this thing goes for about $500. They prefer that one because the groove on there is smaller, so the bend is real nice and easy. If it gets too big in here with them, the guys are telling me that you can get, the bend is a little bit more of a larger radius on it. You can see that that one's got a lot smaller end on it, but a little nicer, but they're about $500 for them. I'm sure that one they're into it for about $1.50. So.
Dimmer's about $6.
Yeah, well, the dimmer, yeah, the dimmer gets hot, just as hot as the element does too. So, but anyway.
Gotcha.
Kids that happen to go up and be sitting there playing with sandpaper and stuff like that on your
Grab
aquarium.
your magnet, start cleaning,
Yeah.
get a lot of sand and rack the whole front of your tank.
So we're gonna do a before and after with this one to be able to see where we had done the stuff. So that's a pretty bad one there. Nothing major for deep scratches on it, but we're just gonna use a buffing compound.
It's very easy to get it out. I could probably buff that out brand new in about 5 minutes. So,
Awesome.
Everybody might not get a magnet for the frag rod.
Right.
We're a little shy.
Then he came home and
we had a little
issue
issue
the
with
whole
shipping.
side panel just
Well,
came out of the tank.
anybody who doesn't, just tell them to get
And
one
what
smaller.
drawback you use on this one because if you the regular one, it's just cracked acrylic.
Well, if you can use a regular drill bit, you have to go really slow. We use the step drill bit right there. That's on the
Because
drill press.
when I try to drill it, it's just cracked. It's not like
Yeah,
way
you have to go real slow with it if you're going to use it.
Well, they make acrylic
Ray will
drill
show you
bits
guys real quick. That's why I use that.
they use a regular bit,
Well,
then you have to go slower.
these step down bits, they work really good.
Yeah, they work
What I try to do, I just try to clamp it on a piece of like 2x4 and
These are-
do it, and then it just keeps.
If you use a bit like this bit has edges on the corners.
Oh,
And if
It'll catch.
If you just touch the edge of it there, it usually will catch, especially if you put a little bit of pressure
Because
on
of the angle of the cutting edge.
Okay, and by using that step down bit, it doesn't have that edge, it only has one cutting surface in the middle of it. And how many did we do last night? There's 15 holes in each plate, so
We
there's
did
probably,
18 last
you know,
night.
there's 18 plates there, so you do the math, there's over 100 holes there, not one crack.
Because when I try to do it, I just see too many holes in the empire. So I'm just
It's a step down
But
bit.
it would
so
probably be better to get this one because it has all the varying sizes.
So these would be examples of some of the.
These are some of the racks these are the racks that we built last night. This is just a template. This is another one that we.
That's the monster rack.
Yeah, that's Big Daddy, you'll have to have a big magnet on. These do not fit in these holes. I guess you could shove them in there.
Yeah.
But you could always step that down. If you got a step down bit, you could step it down and step a couple of these down, or we could step them down on there for you if you want it. Yeah, if you want it thicker.
And the cool thing about this is when you're building your own, you can make it custom to anything you want. And to oversize this hole a little bit is not going to hurt anything. You know, you may have a slight little bit of play in it, but
Yeah, it's
it's
not
going
gonna
to
hurt
hurt anything.
This is an example of an overflow box that I made in about 5 minutes. This is out of Lexan. It's not acrylic. It's cheaper than acrylic. You can get it in black. And it's a lot cheaper.
Where you get it?
Well, here I get all the scrap and stuff I can take, but A&C Plastics, Regal Plastics. There's another place. I'm not exactly. I had a list of them.
I don't know how to do it. That's
A lot of
why.
glass places, just a lot of glass.
Plastics places. Plastic. Yeah.
Any
Some of the glass
sign,
places will also carry.
any sign manufacturer can
Isn't
do
there a
this
place
stuff.
on the website under the DIY where it gives you those options? I mean, tells you
Yeah,
about
we
those
could probably
vendors?
do that. Yeah.
I think there already is one.
Is there a link for all the plastic manufacturers around here?
Yeah. there's
I believe there is, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I was
Yeah.
reading it the other day.
If not, we're part of the thing with the new website is where people are gonna be able to request to do stuff like that, where we'll have a tab for